Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Together We Battle podcast. I am your host, Jessica, and today I have quite a powerhouse woman with me who has connected with me, my goodness, 10 years ago, maybe at this point, I bet. And we have continued to stay in touch and now work together in different capacities. So I would really love to welcome a dear friend, Christina Dickerson.
Jess, you're sweet. I know it's crazy how our relationship has grown over the years from a simple conversation, a simple lunch one day to now a flourishing friendship. I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome how things come full circle. And I'm sure you can speak to that a little bit. But first, before we really dive in, give everybody a little bit about yourself, give some background, and then we'll move forward from there.
Sounds good. Gosh, where I am now at 50, 51, I've done a lot. I have a career that I can look back on and even at this stage and say I'm really proud of it. I started actually in television and then moved into the other side of the camera and went into PR and marketing and really built a business on marketing and telling other people's stories because that's a core of what I love to do is tell someone else's story. So when people ask me about mine, I tend to be a little more shy and reserved, but I'll talk about you all day long. Or I'll talk about a client all day long. But, it's one of those things that telling the story and everybody has a story. I think that's one of the greatest things that I've learned over the years is I may be having a simple conversation with someone and they're telling me something and I'm looking at them thinking, this is such a great story to share. Like, think about the impact we can make if we share this story. And to me, that's really what marketing is all about. The type of marketing I do is really telling the story, and it's what I enjoy. And I love to, see how things grow. And as I look ahead, there's so many things that I still want in my career, but at the forefront of everything that I do, it's about trying to find that balance in life that we always talk about, focusing on family and friends and the things that we really love and the things that bring us true joy. So that's a little bit
Yeah.
about me.
Well, you have had such a flourishing career, and it's been really cool to go through these last several years kind of side by side because
Hmm.
I always looked at you and thought, man, she has got it. She is like crushing it, you know? And
Thank you.
you still are. But the thing I also love too about you is you have such a compassion for others. You always, like you said, want to share someone else's story. You're always checking in, how can I help the next person? And you and I have a lot of lengthy conversations about all of those things because you and I are similar in that. We can get caught up in someone else's story and really have to circle back and go, hold on, I need some me time. I need I
Hmm.
need some focus on my family or inside my home instead of the exterior part. So, talk a little bit about that. How has that changed for you in the last few years of where you were to where you are now when it comes to life and career?
Yeah. I think one of the greatest compliments that somebody says is what you just said to me is compassion. I give my parents all the credit for that. That's who they are. And that's what I learned throughout my life is trying to make a difference and trying to make an impact. It's interesting when we look back at 2020, one of the biggest words being used in business and in life was the word pivot. We were all trying to pivot because of COVID. How do we do our job? How do we maintain relationships? How do we, all of it? It was pivot, pivot, pivot. But essentially, that's what we do throughout life, right? Is we evolve and we continue to change because nothing stays the same. As my friend and as, someone who we worked together, you saw me in 2023, which was probably the one of the worst years of my life, where there were so many things going on with family health issues and loss. And I was thinking at that time, okay, how do we get through this? How can my business survive me being pulled in a million different directions? And and it wasn't necessarily the business that I was worried about. It was how do I not let this impact my clients? Because I made a commitment to them. I mean, my focus needed to be in different places. Basically from that, I learned, again, life teaches you, you continuously evolve, and you have to. And you have to figure it out, and you have to find that balance, and you have to make it all work. And I think what you and I have really spent so much time talking about is the importance of that balance and saying to ourselves, we're going to make it through whatever this challenge is, whatever this hurdle is. Let's try to do it gracefully whenever possible. It's not always, sometimes it looks rather clumsy. But in the end, what I really learned from that time and over the last couple of years is I've tried to revamp my way of thinking. And when I turned 50, that was a monumental moment for me, where I looked at myself more of a personal basis and said, am I giving myself everything that I need? Or am I letting myself go in a direction that I don't want to go in? And, not that anything was like dramatic. I mean, my personal life was great, all these things. I just wasn't finding my own happiness in me. And I spent so much time focused on everyone else, and we all do. You're a mom of two, you're a wife. We all have roles that what we play and who we are. But I really said at that point, okay, 2025, I'm going to get it back together. And I made that commitment to myself. And I think that's really what we all have to do is sit down. It's the start of a new year and say, okay, in 2026, what are the 3 things that I really want to do? For me in 2025, it was focus on my wellness. It was making sure I was working out. It was not drinking a glass of wine every night, to use that as my way of winding down. And it was to read. And I'm really proud of what I did because I made those promises to myself and I kept them. And
Yay.
no, thanks. But that's what I think this is all about, right? We're starting a new year, and it's not about resolutions. I've made a lot of resolutions. And by February, I'm like, okay, that
Nice
was a good,
try.
I'm over it. Yeah, nice try. Good job. But essentially, it's about like you making a commitment to yourself, and in the end, that positively impacts all the people in your world. I mean, my changes positively impacted my husband, my family. I was able to be more focused on everybody else, and I was able to exude more of a positive energy because I was feeling good about where I was. So I think that's the thing. We all have to evaluate sometimes, and it's not always pretty. It's not always pretty, but we have to do it. And then that's where the evolution comes, the evolving, the pivoting, which none of us want to use that word anymore. We're so over it. But it's true. It's what life
Yeah.
is.
And sometimes it's on a daily basis. You think you're going to enter into a day, and all of a sudden something comes out of left field, and you're like, whoa. The more
Yeah,
you're able to learn how to pivot in those scenarios that are unexpected, the
right.
better off you're going to be to move forward. Yeah.
100%. I mean, we can all have our to-do list at 8 a.m. of what we want to accomplish. And guess what? That could be out the window by 8:45.
Totally. It might be out the window before 8 o'clock.
Exactly. 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 Before your feet hit the ground, but you
Yeah.
just don't know it.
Well, what I love hearing you say, and essentially it is start of a new year. I talk about this every year at this time, is get rid of the resolutions. They give such a negative connotation. And really what you said to me, you invited me to work an event with you, and we went and met before the event, and you sat me down and you were like, I need some change, personal change. I need to take better care of myself, and I need your help. And we talked through it. And
Mhm.
I gave you some suggestions, and we talked about what that could look like, which I absolutely love doing. And A lot of times for people, it's, I know what I need to do, but I have not
Mhm.
taken the steps to be honest with myself, to your point, and to
Mhm.
make that movement forward. So I always approach every situation where I give people suggestion, we talk about it, let's meet you where you are. Here are some simple things you could do in your day. Even if chaos happens and you have to pivot, these are still simple things you can focus on. And this is how you move forward, but you had to move it forward and you had to do the work. So, going back to that, you said you started to focus more on your wellness. What habits did you adjust? Maybe a few other specific
Mm.
things, if you don't
Yeah,
mind. What was that
yeah.
turning point for you that you were like, I have to do this? I see myself and feel myself in the wrong direction. I know I can do
Mhm.
this. Again, you're a powerhouse. You've been marketing businesses and running these incredible events for years, but you essentially needed to manage yourself, right?
Exactly, exactly, because, in the end, what we all do is we all step back from doing the things for ourselves because we've made a commitment to someone else. So whether that's a client, whether that's family, husband, children, whatever that is, I am somebody that puts everybody before I put myself. Plain and simple. And in a lot of ways, that's just who I am. But what I had to say to myself, and really it was because I had like a bit of a health scare at the end of 2024. And I remember sitting in the doctor's office, and thank goodness everything's okay. But um, I remember saying, that was a wake-up call. You and I had already had our conversation, and I think having a conversation with a really good friend like you, you're a motivation, you're an inspiration. You do it all. You tell people honestly your perspective. And so when you and I had that conversation, that was step 1 for me. And, and I kept saying to myself, yep, yep, okay, simple habits, right? That's something you and I talked about, simple habits. But then when that happened in December, it was of 2024 was my wake up call. And, I had just turned 50, and and I thought, if I don't get it together now, when am I going to get it together? Like, do something for you. So, when you talk about what are the things that I looked at, I mean, going back to what I said, what I was looking at was a pattern of every night as soon as I walked into the door, as I'm making dinner, first thing I would do is open a bottle of wine and enjoy a glass of wine while I'm making dinner. Not a big deal, right? A lot of people do that. But then I saw myself saying, I'm not sleeping well. I'm going to have another glass of wine. I'll sleep better. No, completely opposite of what reality is. But in my mind, I was like, it's my wind down, right? Wind down. And so I actually did dry January. And what I realized is I didn't really miss it. What I came home and made myself every night instead of a glass of wine was a hot tea. And because it was more the habit of having something in my hand, it wasn't necessarily what it was. And it was about having that cup, that glass, whatever it was. And so I got through dry January, and I was like, well, that wasn't so bad. And then I kept going because I felt better. What I realized is I was sleeping better and I felt better. I had more energy. And so I was inspired and motivated to continue that. So now probably I have a glass of wine, maybe once a week, probably about once a week. When we were on vacation, did I have a glass of wine more often with dinner? We were in restaurants. Yeah. I mean, it was, yes, for sure. But it was the simple habit of cutting when I was at home, changing that habit of, having that glass or two of wine. So that was one element. Um, my water consumption, that's because of you. Exactly. Um, I have this thing, it's like my third arm. I like carry it with me all the time. I go everywhere with me. It starts my day. So I think water for sure was a big change for me because I don't really love to drink water, but I found ways of loving to drink water. So throwing in lemon, lime, cucumber. Then I just realized I don't even need it. Like today it's plain because I don't need that anymore. Working out, making sure regardless of how hectic the week is, finding that hour every day for me. And, and most of the time it's like 5 days a week because we're active with, other things, but getting into the gym and doing weights 4 times a week is something that I've been very consistent about. And then making sure we get our steps and having those motivations, having the watch that you can look at and say, oh my gosh, it's 7 o'clock and I've only got 7,000 steps. I want to hit 10,000. Like you start playing mental games with yourself. I mean, and these are all the things that you and I talked about. And I just had to create those simple habits that now it's just there. I don't necessarily think about it because it's just part of my routine. So I took some bad habits and transformed them into good habits, and then I just built new habits. And it sounds simple, and in a lot of ways, Jess, you and I both know it really is. You just have to change your mindset. And I think the other thing is it's now where you find joy and contentment is really knowing that, okay, I enjoy this. I enjoy that hour of time in the weight room by myself.
Yeah.
I'm not talking to anybody. It's great.
Yes. It's
It's
such a
awesome.
refresh for yourself. It gives you your space, your personal space. And as you said, when you started to cut out the wine, you started to sleep better. You weren't having all the rushes of sugar. Your skin probably looked more clear. Your mind probably felt less foggy. So there's so many things that people
Mhm.
think when I too used to be a lover of my drinks more frequently than I should have. To be real honest, I was way more frequent than I should have been. And that's a lot of people. It's become a social thing when you're out, like
Mhm.
with doing events or whatever, going to
Yeah.
social hours or whatever it is.
Mhm.
It's a social thing. You hold the drink, like you
Mhm.
said, it's more of the action, less
Mhm.
of what was in it. So you
Yeah.
just had to make that adjustment.
Yeah. Exactly. Like it's a
Mhm.
social thing. And it's very, I grew up in a European household and with a grandmother who lived to be 113, and she enjoyed a glass of wine
Mhm.
every day. And but it was part of her meal. It was that she lived in the wine region of Germany and it was part of their meal. I still enjoy a glass of wine with the meal when I'm with my friends and family. I
Yeah.
do enjoy that. It was more about the
Mhm.
home habit that I needed to change. It was more about, I don't actually, I mean, I'm drinking it, but I'm not enjoying it. I'm not sitting there really enjoying it. I'm just drinking it because it's there. That
Yeah.
was the change, is then, well, drink a hot tea, dummy. Like, save yourself the calories, first of all. You're not enjoying it. You're not even paying attention to it. It's like mindless snacking. I wasn't a
Mhm.
mindless snacker, but I was a mindless wine drinker.
That's,
So
but
that's the
that's
comparison.
exactly it. You hit the nail on the head. It's becoming mindful of those things, those activities in
Yeah.
your day, becoming mindful of your time in the gym and in your working out is strengthening your body to get you to 113. I don't know. It's getting you to those places where you have a farm, you have animals, you want to be able to be 70, 80 years old and out on the farm with your animals and moving and enjoying that time of life. It's the same
Yeah.
thing for me is showing up in my day and doing the functional strength training so that I can enjoy spending time with my kids and running with them no matter how old they are. If they have kids, maybe I'm running with my grandkids one day. I don't know. I want to
Yeah.
live to be 103. So we'll see what happens. But
Okay. We'll do this again in a few years.
it really comes back to just making small, simple adjustments to your habits that then start to impact your mindset, which then impacts being mindful of like, oh, I did, you catch yourself, right? When you start to make a
Yeah,
decision and you're like, nah, that decision is not going to serve me. I need better rest, so
exactly.
I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to do this instead.
100%, Jess. And it's not like anything that I did is really
Yeah.
earth shattering. It's anyone
Mhm.
can do what I did. It's just, we're talking about it, and hopefully I can say to someone else, if I did it, you can certainly do it. There's no
Yeah.
doubt about it. And just making ourselves better as we get older. I think that's one of the things. I heard a quote one time, and I've said it to you before. In your 20s, you're so busy proving yourself. And your 30s, you're building your career, you're building your family, you're proving to the world that you can do all the things. And then you get a little bit older, and now I look at it more like I've done some really great things in my life, career wise, like a lot of things I'm super proud of. And I still want to do great things career wise. But now I focus on improving, like improving the things that I've done and improving who I am, because it's about enjoying life. Life teaches us so many lessons along the way. And it's at the old adage of if I would have known then,
Yeah, hindsight
but
2020, right?
hindsight's 2020. But now it's like I want to enjoy that time that I have with my family. The evenings, the weekends. You look at your life, and hopefully everybody who's listening to this, they can look at their life and say, all the things that I have right now are the things that I always wanted. And if not, how do I get those things? Like how do I bring that to
Mhm.
fruition? Also keeping in mind that we all have different difficult chapters. Like every one of us has gone through something that has not been pretty, has not been easy, but we continue to evolve.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is the entire point of this podcast that I started, was to share
Mhm,
that, share those hard seasons and give people support and resources so that
mhm.
they can take that hard season, whether they come across this and they haven't run into that hard season yet, there's a resource here. If you're in the middle of your hard season
Yeah,
and you come across this, there's a resource here. If you're like
yeah,
more like you and I, where we've come through some really hard seasons already, there's still some resources here. So show up in
for
your
sure.
day. And the other thing I always like to point out to people, and you and I have talked about this, is you approach your day as, I get to do this, because it is a blessing to be alive. If I am woken today, I get to go to the gym and work out because I can move my body.
Mhm,
You get to go to your
mhm.
kitchen and find nutritious food for yourself and your husband because you have a great home and jobs. It really
Yeah,
comes back to that space of gratitude and just being so
mhm,
thankful for everything you have in life, because then you
yeah.
really show up in a day where you can pay it forward, which is 100 million% what you do, living from that place of compassion, always paying it forward to the next person.
Well, and I hope that everybody has that one or two girlfriends that they can lean on, because sometimes when life is hard, it's really easy to
Mm-hmm.
pull back, right? It's easy to just be like, I don't even know
Mm-hmm.
where to start. And you also don't want to feel like a burden to someone else, but you're not a burden. You have to remind yourself those check-ins are huge, and those
Yeah.
reminders are huge. And I'm not just saying this because we're doing this now together, but I've told you a million times. I feel so grateful to have you as a friend. So if everybody could have a friend like you and like some of our other girlfriends,
Mm-hmm.
that's big. And find those people. Find those people and really build that for yourself, because in the end they're going to be
Yeah,
there.
absolutely. And if you don't have that group of friends yet, now you do. You found us.
Yeah, exactly.
We're here.
Exactly.
We're here to help.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome. Might be a little crazy every once in a while, but that's the way we
Yeah, but
like
that
it.
keeps it fun and entertaining, you know?
Exactly,
So let's
exactly.
talk about you turn 51. It's a brand new year. What is ahead for you? Do you have anything on your docket where you're like, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm pivoting. Let's just go. Try something new.
Yeah, it's interesting because I definitely want to try some new things this year. I haven't really put it
Mhm.
out there yet as what those items are, but I want to continue to build off of what I built last year. Again, professionally, personally, and I want to take it, just keep building that platform. So yes, I think it's important to continue to have
Mhm.
goals and to continue to say, yeah, this is on my checklist. Like if it's out there,
Mhm.
why not try it? Because the decisions that we make are basically what we let control our mind. So do we let dreams and aspirations and gratitude and good things control our mind, or are we letting fear
Mhm.
control our mind? Because none of us like to fail. None of us like to fail, but in the end, we learn so much
Mhm.
by failing. There have been, from a business standpoint, I've put myself out there and I've done things from a business perspective, and I've failed miserably. Like I didn't do it the right way. I was learning, and I failed. I learned so
Mhm.
much from those moments. And now what I can do is say, I've owned a business for 25 years. So I know what it's like. And I can tell other people, let me give you one piece of advice. Make sure you do X, Y, or Z. As they're telling me their own story, I can look at them and say, oh, I've been
Mhm.
there. It's not easy. It's not easy running your own business. It's not easy always, feeling like you've got to hustle. The hustle can wear you out. It can wear you out, but you can also thrive on the hustle. And I think that's the thing that you have to decide is, am I going to thrive on this, or is it going to tear me down? And if you evaluate that and you determine, I'm going to go for it because I'm not going to let something stop me. If I fail, I fail.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's some things out there for 2026 I want to do. And we'll see at the end of the year. Did you thrive or did you fail? I don't know.
We'll
We'll
regroup
see.
and see how
We're-
Christina does in 2026.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. Exactly. But I'm not going to let the fear control
yeah,
me.
absolutely not. You have too much of life ahead of you. And go for it. One of the
Yeah.
quotes
Why
that
not?
I hear all the time is, you don't know what you don't know, right? I'm going to put
Right.
myself again back on the hot seat of, I had no idea how to do a podcast.
Mm.
None. No
Yeah.
clue. What I knew how to do was
Yeah.
have a conversation with somebody. I love connecting with people, building community, giving resources. I've worked my butt off to
Mhm.
get through hard seasons, and I know what worked for me, and I love to share that with others. That's what I knew. And here we are. And I didn't care if it
Yeah.
sounded messy. I didn't care if it was questioned, like it wasn't pulled together perfectly. Not me. I just showed up and tried. So I love that you gave that as a suggestion to people, because I think a lot of times people allow other people's perspective and their opinions to drive whether they're going to take after their goals or not. So,
Yeah.
what if? Like, what is the worst case scenario if you don't try something new this year? So what?
Hmm.
If you try it, you don't love it,
Exactly.
okay, pivot,
Yeah. Right. Evolve.
evolve.
Ex- Evolve. Truly. And you're a great example of that, because going out there and putting yourself in the podcast world is
Mhm.
huge. It's huge because so many people now, that's where people get their information. Not only is it informative, it's an entertainment. I mean, when I'm on the treadmill, I've got my podcasts going. And And what I love about that is because most of them are about a half an hour, about 30, 45 minutes. That's my time. I make sure I'm getting my
Mhm.
miles in. And I've got things that I'm consistently learning. So the podcast world, I think honestly, we will continue to see that grow for sure. From a marketing perspective, I tell clients all the time, this is a great opportunity to get your word, your message out. And so for you to dive into that a year and a half, 2 years ago, that's
Yeah.
incredible, incredible. And just watch it continue to flourish.
The other thing, and you can probably speak to this wholeheartedly, is have you found that through your career to where you are now, to where you're headed, have you found that it becomes more about the journey and the failures and the wins and all those relationships you build? It's about the journey. It's not just about getting to this goal, because if I get to that goal, then what, right?
Yeah, right. And I think, social media, it can
Mhm.
be amazing, right? And it can also make people feel
Mhm.
not amazing. And I think that when I look at social media, I know what I'm drawn to. I know that I'm drawn to things that inspire, that motivate, that give you a sense of like the can do attitude. And I think that in the end, we all look at that and say, that's a great resource. And what you're putting, like with the podcast and then tying that in with social media, people get the messaging that they're really looking for. So by continuously putting positive things out there and by putting those motivational things, those wellness elements, that can do attitude, great quotes, all of those things, you kind of start to feel
Mhm.
that power, and you know what you're drawn to. Not that I'm not drawn to a hilarious video of somebody flipping over a golf cart because they've had too many, but in the end, it's the thing that really gives you information.
That's it. I mean, much like my computer just shutting off on me. We pivot. Here we are. We're still going. Right? But honestly, that's the way I look at life, and that's the way I always talk to people about shit's gonna happen. It's inevitable. So, are you building those habits and that strength physically, mentally, emotionally for yourself, that when you encounter a hard season, can you handle it at the best place possible for you? Because you still have to take care of yourself when you're taking care of others, and you have done just
Yep.
that. So you are an awesome example of that.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. We all do what we have to
Yeah.
do. And it's about doing it with joy and
Yeah.
appreciation. Because the one thing I will always say is don't ever look back
Mhm.
and regret. Don't look back and regret that you didn't do that thing. Whatever that thing is, we don't know what life has in
Mhm.
front of us. And we all have a timestamp and we don't know what that looks like. I don't want to
Mhm.
know. But I do want to try to wake up every morning and be in a good mood. I mean, it Kurt lovingly, I say this, refers to me as a slobbering dog. He's like, my wife wakes up like a slobbering dog. She's happy. She's the dog that's always, she wakes up, dogs are happy. Dogs don't wake up in a bad mood. Our dog wakes up every morning a good day, like about to have a good day. There's good things out there. There's things to smell. There's things to dig. There's things to do. There's a walk later
Yeah.
in the day. Wake up with that attitude of, hey, it's going to be a good
Yeah.
day. And if it's not a good day, that's just life and you roll with it. But, if we can just start our days, with that positive attitude, that's a simple
Yeah.
habit that we can create. and fill that life with joy, as much joy as you can. Surround yourself by the people that you love, and don't look back with regret.
That is true. Also, to your
That's
point
true.
of social media, I've said this so many times lately that social media can be an incredible resource. Incredible. I've met so many people because of social media that I have then had
Mhm.
on the podcast as a resource for my listeners. So,
Yep.
to your point of that, you can rewire your brain. You can rewire your focus in life to be more positive if you start to consume more of the positive. And you know your algorithm's going to start showing you more of the positive if you look for it.
It exactly. You know it's gonna
Mhm.
feed it to you. So it feeds you what you're looking
Yeah.
at. So why not try to immerse yourself in the beautiful things, whether that's travel, whether that's animals, whether that's quotes, whatever that is that really inspires you and starts your day. And then just start your day with a little bit of quiet time. Like I'm a morning person anyway, and I love that cup of coffee in my chair that's just me and my cat
Yeah.
snuggling. It's a good way to start the day. Just a little bit of quiet time. Make that 10 minutes to yourself, whatever that looks like. Drink your coffee in peace and then get going. Go do it. Go do all the things that are expected of you and that you want to do, and all the things that are going to benefit you. It's a new
Yeah.
year, and take the time to create that for
Mhm.
yourself. Put it out there.
Yeah. Well, you, my friend, are, as I said in the beginning, a powerhouse, and I am grateful
Yeah.
to have you in life and grateful to have a resource for everybody out there listening. Christina did it. You all can do it. I did it. Let's do this together. Like, we are your friends. Here we are. We're your virtual friends. Let's do it.
That's That's right. That's right. No, Jess, thank you so much. This has been so fun. Something I've been super
Mhm.
excited about, because I do think it's basically two
Mhm.
girlfriends talking. And I think a lot of people can
Yeah.
relate. And I hope that as we do our self discovery, everybody takes those
Yeah.
moments.
Great, great tips.
So thank you. You too are a powerhouse, my
Oh,
friend.
well, I appreciate you. And if you all heard nothing else in this episode, what I want you to hear is that it doesn't matter what your age is, you can evolve and pivot at any moment. So go do the
Right.
work.
50 You're not over at 50. My God, I thought that when I was 25. I was like, that old lady.
I thought that too when I was 16, and I'd be like, they're 40? That is so old.
Oh,
And I feel
oh,
like I am just getting started.
that's the whole thing. That's the
Mhm.
bottom line, is we're just getting
Yeah.
started.
I totally agree with that because as you said, in your 20s and 30s, you're trying to prove yourself. And we go into these
Mhm,
careers and we work ourselves to death and we end up just digging
mhm.
ourselves into a hole that we're miserable in. And then if you have an opportunity to really just, I'm changing everything in life, just drop it and move to the next thing.
Yep,
You get to your 40s and you're like, shoot, I'm ready. I have the experience. Let's do it, and I'm going to do whatever I want.
bingo. Happy New
Happy New
Year.
Year, everyone.